Welcome to our midweek special here on Sports Night Live, Bet Racing Nation. Regularly every week now, Tuesday and Wednesdays, we're doing some special features, and we've got two jump trainers to talk to later on this evening, Emma Lavelle and Charlie Long, to look ahead to the season. We've also last week done Nicky Henderson. I'm pleased to say I'm joined to my left by Billy Blakeman.
Evening, Peter. I was passing anyway, so I thought I'd pop in just to...
Absolutely, just to sit there for the next half an hour.
Indeed.
And you come into a storm, didn't you, today? We'll talk about that a little bit later on and what happened today. In terms of the jump season, you looking forward to it?
You know, I am, of course, but, you know, I'm really a flat boy at heart, so, you know, I'm more sort of going to miss the flat, you know?
Really?
So,
I can't wait to get into the jumps, I can assure you. And there's some good racing sort of starts October time, doesn't it, really? With the Cheltenham meeting, which is on the same day as Champions Day. Yeah,
I mean, Champions Day, not my favourite flat meeting.
Yeah,
so no, it's great. I mean, jumps people are really passionate. It's great that we can sort of get into the jump season. You know, let's enjoy it.
Absolutely, and we are delighted to say that we're joined this evening by Emma Lavelle. Good evening, Emma.
Hi there.
Thank you very much for joining us. I must say, since we went on Twitter today to say you'd be on, we've been inundated with questions. But I think the first thing to ask is, how are the majority of the horses, and have you had a good summer?
So the horses seem in really good form. They are coming along nicely. We'll have start to have a few runners towards the end of the month. And yeah, we've had a great summer. We've actually just had everything turned out. We've had very, very few runners. We had a bit of an issue just our farm is surrounded by, or was surrounded by, oilseed rape this year, and it definitely had an adverse effect on the horses at the end of I suppose at the beginning of this season, if you like. So rather than trying to train them through it, we just turned everything away and had an old-fashioned summer, if you like, where all the horses were out, the staff were on holiday, and we all sort of coming in nice and refreshed and ready for action.
Well, let's talk about some of your stars then. In terms of that's the first one, Shotgun Paddy, last seen in the National Hunt Chase. Is that a Welsh national contender, and is there a prep race for Shotgun Paddy?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Welsh national is his target. Whether we, I think he's on a very nice handicap mark, if you like. He's on 149, and yeah, he won the classic chase of 145. So I think we're in a nice position with his chase mark. So there is a small question at the back of my mind of whether we have a prep race for him in a hurdle even, and just save that mark for running over fence, running in the Welsh National. There are other options. If we had a very wet sort of early autumn, we could go to the Chepstow meeting in sort of beginning of October. So, you know, we'll see. There are plenty of options, but at this stage, you know, the Welsh National is our target, and we'll work around that for the moment.
And another horse that people have mentioned is Lavelle. Obviously, tried to give £8 to Sam Winner last December, fallen in the RSA chase. What are the plans with him? Hennessy, Charlie Hall?
It's a difficult one to say at this stage, but yes, is the answer to that. I mean, that's sort of the way we'd be looking. I mean, you know, I know it was a long way out in the RSA when he fell, but he was still travelling beautifully at the time. You know, had he won the RSA or gone close, you know, we'd be sitting here now talking about the Gold Cup as his end of season target. Now, you know, we think the world of this horse, and I think he is. I think he's very, very decent. He's stronger again this year, and so, you know, I think we'll probably treat him as a horse at this stage anyway that the Gold Cup could be the end goal for. So I think let's see what happens after his first couple of runs. But as you say, I think the Hennessy would certainly be something that we'd think about. Charlie Hall again would be an option. The one thing I'd say about him is he's a horse that definitely wants nice-ish ground. So you know, if we were looking like it was going to be very wet and very soft, I wouldn't be in a rush to run him, you know, early, sort of in the bog of the mid part of the season.
And they've got Times Remembered, of course, who's run well behind Whisper in the Coral Cup, 6th in the Coral Cup. Plans for Times Remembered, possibly chasing, or?
Yeah, he'll go novice chasing now, and I think he could be very decent. He ran some super races. You know, he won a Grade 2, he was second in a Grade 1. Over hurdles, I think he's as tough as they come. He doesn't care if the ground is good or heavy. You know, and I think the one issue he did have last season is he could be very casual with his hurdles, but I think he'll respect his fences considerably more, and so I'd be really looking forward to him going novice chasing.
And there's a couple of other horses, obviously nice horses in Kangaroo Court and Moss Park. What's the plans for those?
Well, Kangaroo Court very sadly died of colic in the summer, so it was just really, really sad. But we couldn't do anything to save him, and so he's not with us anymore.
Right.
Moss Park, he's another that will go novice chasing. He won 3 over hurdles last season, including the Sydney Banks. Cheltenham was a step too far for him. It was just too much for him mentally. He's a big baby of a horse, and so he's had a lovely summer out. He again is bigger and stronger, and he'll go novice chasing. He loves jumping, and I think that is soft ground. I think he'll be away over fences this season.
And some other horses, Gull and Bursty, is that a long-term Topham potentially?
Gull and Bursty again he's in terrific order, and his long-term plan will be the Topham. He's such a great jumper, and I think that sort of race will really suit him. I feel that I was trying to make him into a stayer, and I'm not absolutely convinced that he truly is that last season. He won over two 5.5 round Market Raisin, and I think had things gone sort of slightly more to plan, and I'd been campaigning him over a slightly shorter trip, I think he would have not just been placed in as many races as he was, but would have actually finished up winning some. But again, his season will be tailored around the Topham. But he's a straightforward horse, doesn't want the ground too soft, but I think there's definitely off his mark more races to be won with him.
Okay, just a couple more. I mean, obviously we've got a lot of people tweeting in there and everything. Fox Appeal and Andy Kelly.
So Fox Appeal, he's a little bit stuck between a rock and a hard place in that he's raced 151. He was very impressive when he won at Ascot, winning his Grade 2 there. And in fairness to him, when he was only, he wasn't beaten far at Kempton when he was third in the Pendle, and the winner went on to win at Aintree, and the second won at Punchestown. So again, he was one of the top novice chasers of last season. I think we will campaign him at 2.5 miles. In actual fact, I say that my main sort of, or my thoughts with him at the minute, we're going to run him at Market Raisin probably in the race that Bugler won last year, their sort of big handicap at the end of September, and see if he can win that, then off his current mark, then there would be a chance you could think he might be better than a handicapper. If not, we'll find our mark and have a look at some of the valuable handicaps through the season. And
I might be wrong, but have you now got Eduardo Sol from Paul Nicholls?
I have, yes. And I mean, he's an absolute joy to deal with. He really is. He's a lovely horse. Again, you look at his profile, and he was as tough as nails. My plan is, if everything is right with him, that we'll go back over fences this season. I think they had some sort of niggly problems last year, and so he stayed over hurdles. But obviously, his performance winning the Red Rum Chase 2 years ago was immense. So he will go over fences, back over fences, if all physical things remain good.
Okay, and then there's a few. Are you still there, Emma?
Yeah, still there.
Yeah, and you've got a couple of nice 3-year-olds. I mean, I looked through your website. I don't know if the plan to go bumping with some of these, but you've got a few younger horses as well.
Yeah, we've got. It's funny. At the end of last year, or the end of last season, we've sort of had a big sort of moving on of some of the older horses that had probably just started to enjoy racing less, but had futures doing other things. So rather than just keeping going with them, they've sort of gone off to do different jobs. And so sort of in the restocking process, we have got a lot of young horses this year. I'd say of the store type horses that we've bought, the idea would be to be running them in bumpers towards the end of the season. There's a very nice Westerner called Chelsea Flyer. I like him a lot at this stage. So I think that there are some nice youngsters coming through. On other 3-year-olds, we bought a couple in France. A nice a 3-year-old by Smadoun, same sire as Lavelle, called Akadoun. He's pretty precocious, and I'd say he'll probably be out a bit quicker than some of the others.
Okay, and hopefully you can match last season's tally in October and November, because it was absolutely a terrific. I mean, some of the horses that are you worried about the handicap marks now? Because obviously you had such a great time then. Is that a concern?
I think it probably is for a couple of the novices going forward. You know, the likes of Fox Appeal, you know, that have done really well as novices, and then suddenly it's a big step up into the next level. You know, a few of them I think probably are just as high as you'd want them to be. But yeah, hopefully they'll take the next step. But we've got some nice novices from last season, you know, going chasing, and a few sort of others, you know, like you mentioned earlier, Andy Kelly, Junction 14. They're horses that showed plenty. Yeah, they're only 5-year-olds now, so there's a lot of improvement.
And with Junction 14, I mean, he was absolutely hammered, wasn't it, for winning at Kempton?
Yeah, he was absolutely hammered. You know, hopefully he's still improving, and I'm going to leave him over hurdles actually for another season because he is only 5, and I don't think it would do him any harm. But we'll see. You know, we'll see whether the handicap is right or you know, or whether.
Yeah, they always say they are,
we're going to struggle.
They always say they are, but we'll have to see. I really appreciate you giving us the time this evening to go through the majority of your horses. Obviously, there's many more that we could have spoken about, but thanks very much indeed, Emma, for your time this evening.
No problem at all.
Thank you. With the Cheltenham meeting, which is on the same day as Champions Day.
Yeah, I mean, Champions Day, not my favourite flat meeting.
Yeah,
so no, it's great. I mean, jump people are really passionate. It's great that we can sort of get into the jump season. Yeah, let's enjoy it.
Absolutely, and we are Emma Lavelle and Charlie Longston look ahead to the season. We've also last week done Nicky Henderson. I'm pleased to say I'm joined to my left by Billy Blakeman.
Evening, Peter. I was passing anyway, so I thought I'd pop in just to
absolutely just to sit there for the next half an hour. Welcome to our midweek special here on Sports Night Live, Bet Racing Nation. Regularly every week now, Tuesday and Wednesdays, we're doing some special features, and we've got 2 jump trainers to talk to later on this evening.
Flat boy at heart, so you know I'm more sort of going to miss the flat, you know.
Really?
So,
I can't wait to get into the jumps. I can assure you. And there's some good racing sort of starts October time, doesn't it? Really.
Indeed.
And you come into a storm, didn't you, today? We'll talk about that a little bit later on and what happened today. In terms of the jump season, you looking forward to it?
You know, I am, of course, but you know, I'm really